I'm thinking quite a bit about endings right now. Endings and dying, actually. Partly because there's been a few small endings around here where I'm working recently. You know, some valued colleagues have retired or got other jobs elsewhere. And part of the institution where I work at is closing, and it's had quite a long history in its present site, so there's a sense of ending and termination there. But I suppose most specifically and personally, it's my old mum, who I've spoken about in these videos before once or twice. She's still alive. She's actually made it out of hospital. She's in hospital for 2 weeks and was on death's door for a long time. In fact, the doctors were all kind of doing their preparing thing. But she, she rallied and she got a bit better and was sent home last Thursday. But back to the care home where she's at, actually. But she's not right, you know, and she's certainly not long for this world. That's for sure. And so she is absolutely in the process of dying right now. It'll just take a while. And it makes me think about what's going on with that, really. Because obviously I don't have any kind of spiritual affiliation, and I don't have any belief in any of those comforting stories. And I don't feel the need for any, if I'm honest. But I'm just wondering what kind of stories I am telling myself. Because I do think I'm telling myself some stories, just not the ones that I'm finding in any kind of religious tradition. I suppose the most literal story I tell myself is to do with what's physically happening, and this is just in relation to Elsie, really, and her dying process. Because obviously in a relatively short period of time from now, I'd imagine, she will, the kind of chemical constituents of her frail little old body will eventually join the chemical composition of the earth. She's undoubtedly heading in that direction, as are we all. But she's going to get there quite a bit before myself and I guess most people looking at this video. So there's a kind of logic to that, and that's, in a sense, that's fine. Because as I think I've said before, you know, there's these bodies that we have are conduits for the stuff of the earth to flow through, in a sense. At least that's how I look at it. And so there's nothing too strange about that process. But then there's this other thing about the mind, really, I suppose. And I know I'm objectifying something which is really a process, but it's almost irresistible to think of it in those terms. Because of course she is getting old, and she's in her 90s, and her mind is going. And since she came out of hospital, it's gone quite a bit more. So she doesn't remember lots of things. She doesn't always remember who I am. She knows she had in addition to myself and my brother and sister, she knows she had another child. This is my brother Keith, who died of polio when he was little. But she can't really remember much about that, so she has to keep hearing that little story. People in photographs, relatives, her brother, she don't know who those people are. So there's a sense in those things slipping away. So whilst her body is slipping away, and I think she really feels that, her body is doing all those kind of embarrassing breaking down processes that happens when you're old. Her body looks like it's kind of slipping away, and her body and her mind is also slipping away. But it's not really slipping away. I mean, in terms of, I've spoken about the body already, but her mind, or those processes, those cognitive processes that form the mind, some of those, when she's dead, will be duplicated across in other people. And here I'm reminded of I Am a Strange Loop, that very strangely beautiful book by Douglas Hofstadter. Some of those processes, like I don't know, the song she taught me when I was a kid, or things that she said, those will be duplicated or stimulated in other brains and other systems, and on pieces of paper, I guess, and in one of the 2 video recordings that I've made of her. So some of those little cognitive structures will be maintained, but a lot of them won't be. A lot of the just a lot of the patterns of cognitive activity that are going on in Elsie right now will no longer persist. But I don't think of it in those terms. It usually feels like a slipping away process. When you're talking to someone whose memory is fading, it feels like they're slipping away somewhere. So I guess I'm just thinking about this going away, ending, moving off, that whole narrative which seems to be underpinning the language that I'm using, and presumably the cognition that I myself am using, which does seem to have some kind of mythological status. It's not, I don't believe in it in any sense of a myth, but I can kind of feel a myth operating, that her body is going away, and it seems to be heading downwards towards the earth, and her mind, which is also going away, feels like it's kind of volatilizing, you know, like methylated spirits. When you spread it on a tabletop, it just dries and just evaporates and fills the space. So that feels like it's going away as well. So even though I have no religious faith, of course, and I don't really believe that Elsie's mind is taking leave of her failing body and rising to any kind of empyrean, I can kind of feel like ticking away behind my language and behind my thinking, that kind of logic, that the dark matter of her body will become part of the dark matter of the earth, and the light and ethereal stuff of thought will somehow just kind of seep into the atmosphere of the world. Yeah.